Winter in Antarctica. It's a time of almost perpetual darkness. And on board the icebreaker Aurora Australis, a team of Australian scientists are on a rare winter expedition. They're gathering information about the waters that are blanketed by the pack ice and the atmosphere above. Working at temperatures down to minus 25 degrees Celsius, they measure and record, building up the information to create a scientific model of how the whole Antarctic system works. The expedition is part of an Australian research effort which stretches back for almost 100 years. The late winter sun barely clears the horizon. The warmer water condenses in the cold air. Balloons collect weather data, or in this case, fail to. The ship forces its way towards the ocean, clearing a path for the patrolling killer whales. Penguins head out from their rookeries across the vast expanse of pack ice to feed in the distant sea. The Southern Ocean surrounds Antarctica, the only ocean that circles the globe without being blocked by land. The ship pushes north for 3 days and 1,000 kilometres towards Macquarie Island. Macquarie Island is the peak of an underwater mountain range. It's one of the very few fragments of land in this ocean and a mecca for biologists. The surrounding waters support a rich ecosystem. The animals can live and hunt in the turbulent water. But for a brief period each year, they must leave it to breed. And every spring, like clockwork, they return. This male elephant seal has been out at sea feeding for the last 5 months. But right now he must use his 3 tons of bulk to win and hold territory. His opponent retreats, leaving him the beachmaster. The Aurora Australis drops a team of biologists on the island. Everything comes in by ship, and the scientists stay here until the next one, 6 months later.
All the best.
See you, definitely. See ya.
See you in 18 months, man.
While the rest of the expedition is going back to mainland Australia, the biologists are beginning a new phase of their research. They've waited months for this moment, and they're eager to start work. The only human inhabitants work from the Australian Antarctic Division Base on the northern tip of the island. And there's no more than 40 people, even in the summer. From here, the field teams move out to remote camps. Corey Bradshaw is looking for tags, checking to see which seals have already returned.
If we're in a small cove like this,
He's adding to data recorded over a period of nearly 50 years.
getting away, just herd them up so that we can watch them.
Elephant seals for me are exciting for two reasons. One, that they are a fantastic tool to understand a huge system about which we know very little. The second is the thrill of working with an animal that can easily kill you. You have to be on your toes 24 hours a day when working with these animals. You have to respect their size, and yet you can really feel their power and their importance.
Elephant seals have few predators, and yet their numbers have declined dramatically in the last 40 years. At the moment, no one's sure of the reason, but it probably lies in how they feed in the Southern Ocean. Their layers of fat and unique physiology enable them to travel far and dive deeply. Corey's work with the seals will allow him to explore the ocean as they roam it.
The Southern Ocean is a huge body of water, probably one of the least understood oceans on the planet. And elephant seals that are born on Macquarie Island range right throughout a huge section of the Southern Ocean. But they do come back to Macquarie Island to rest and to breed. This is the real beauty of the program, in that we can track individuals over time that range over such vast areas. This is why we've really targeted southern elephant seals.
Newcomers Megan Tierney and Alice Parker are volunteers.
I always wanted to come down and work in the Antarctic, so it's sort of been a big ambition or a big aim of mine for a lot of years. I mean, I've been waiting to do it for so long now, it's just, you still don't sort of believe that you're here and it's all actually happening.
Megan and Alice are taking part in a 10-year study on breeding success in penguins. They will live in this fiberglass hut, half a day's walk from the base. This will be the first project Megan has to manage.
I'm a little bit nervous at the moment, just more so just the anticipation of waiting to see if we can do it all right.
Working and living in such a small space can be very difficult. So friends are encouraged to team up for the job. Megan has chosen Alice, a friend from university, to assist her.
Megan gave me a call and asked me if I wanted to come down to Macquarie Island to help her catch penguins. After finding out where Macquarie Island was, then I sort of became aware of what an amazing opportunity it was.
It would be good to actually get our hands on the birds, because we've just been talking about it for so long now, and like just talking to lots of different people who've worked with the penguins. Been trying to get all the tips that we can.
There's a lot at stake for Megan on this trip. The daughter of a butcher in country New South Wales, she may decide to do a doctorate on penguins. This depends on how she finds the study and whether she can stand the conditions. Royal penguins breed only on Macquarie Island. After 6 months continuously at sea, they make their first landfall. The males arrive to reclaim the nest sites. The females will follow in a few days. Catching penguins is a technical skill which must be learned by all penguin researchers.
What we do when the birds first come in is nab them off the beach to get some indication of what condition these birds are in, and we do this by taking weight measurements as soon as they arrive on shore.
They take a random sample of 100 birds.
The birds are really strong, especially for their size. They're only these little tackers that, come up to your knees or wherever, and you think, oh yeah, I'll be able to handle these pretty easily, but they're really strong, especially their flippers.
The beak is measured to confirm the bird's sex. The male beak is larger. They flush the stomachs of 10 birds to see what they've been eating and how much. The degree of digestion indicates how long the birds have travelled from their feeding grounds. By comparing previous data, they know the birds this year are coming back comparatively empty. Once the initial measurements are complete, the birds are released. Megan and Alice have marked them so they won't be re-handled by mistake. He won't bear the indignity of a label forever. The number will disappear when he molts in a few months' time. The males move off, heading for their nest sites. They're walking to this breeding site 2 kilometres inland and 200 metres above the beach. No one knows why they go so far, but it does seem wiser than sharing the beach with less than sensitive neighbours. This year, like every other, these penguins will return to the same place, and if they can find her, the same mate. Later in the season, when they're feeding their chicks, the birds will make this epic journey every 3 days. Up at the colony, it's easy enough for these early arrivals to find their old sites and settle down to wait for their partners. But over the next few weeks, nearly 2 million royals will crowd ashore. The Macquarie Island shag is one of the few year-round residents. Oddly, it's a poor flyer for such fierce conditions. It's the mating season for them too. They proclaim their readiness with bright patches of colour. The birds are safe here. Macquarie Island is a nature reserve and a World Heritage Area. Rangers patrol the island year-round, monitoring the native birds and getting rid of the feral animals who prey on them, especially cats. Biologist Mike Anderson is the head ranger.
Seabirds come back to the island to breed, and they find cats here, which are a top-level predator. This has resulted in a reduction of several of the species, and some of them going offshore to breed.
The cats are a legacy of Macquarie Island's brutal history. They were brought here by sealers nearly 200 years ago. The hunters almost wiped out the seals and left in their wake a feral menagerie of rats, mice, rabbits, and cats. No bigger than ordinary domestic cats, these ferals have adapted to the harsh climate. They have killed off 2 bird species on the island already, and others are under threat. Mike spends most of his year out in the field.
As far as I'm concerned, this is the best job on the island, being a ranger.
He will traverse the island many times in a season.
As rangers, we get to know its every mood and its every small area of the island. It's a real unique experience.
Macquarie is small, 35 kilometres long and only 5 across. But it's still a rugged 3-day hike from end to end. It rains, sleets or snows 6.5 days in every 7. But the work goes on, and everyone adapts. The sheer power of the Southern Ocean is breathtaking. This is the roughest ocean in the world. South of Macquarie Island is the Antarctic convergence. Here, cold water surrounding Antarctica collides with water from the world's warmer oceans. The colder, heavier bottom water pushes and concentrates nutrients closer to the surface. However, this rich feeding area moves with variations in the climate. This can have a profound effect on the animals feeding here and breeding on Macquarie Island. The light-mantled sooty albatross roams the ocean for up to 2 years at a time. But now it's time to breed again. He seeks out his old nest site and calls in his mate. He may not have seen her for 2 years. They renew their bond with a display of bobbing and beak clacking. They lay only 1 egg and will spend more than 9 months rearing the chick. Some of these birds are more than 40 years old. Their mating begins with a courtship flight. Down on the beach, the male elephant seal has been holding his territory for weeks. The females he's been waiting for are arriving. She's massively pregnant, almost ready to give birth. For the last 7 months, she's been accumulating huge stores of blubber. The survival of her baby will depend directly on how much fat she's been able to bring ashore. She joins the other females in the beachmaster's harem. The local skuas know that birth is imminent. They're voracious scavengers, and there's a feast in store. This season, more than 20,000 elephant seals will be born on the island. The mother and the pup bond by learning each other's scent and the sound of their bark. She is loaded with milk, which the skuas are eager to pinch. While the afterbirth keeps them distracted, the pup starts to feed. In only 3 weeks, its mother will transfer 100 kilos of her own fat to the pup via her milk. The seal researchers arrive within 24 hours. They're interested in the pup and the mother's condition and what it reveals about her feeding history. But it's not easy to handle an 800-kilo adult seal. So they have to approach the question backwards, by weighing her pup. A head bag calms the pup with darkness and doubles as a sling for the weighing. The beachmaster is kept off with padded sticks.
I think there's a heap of water in there. 4 or 5. You right?
They have to minimise the amount of time mother and pup are separated. They've got it down to less than 2 minutes. Corey and his colleagues will weigh 1,000 pups twice.
We weigh the pup at birth, and then we weigh it again at the end of lactation. During that time, neither the pup feeds for itself, nor does the mother get any extra energy. So that change in mass of the pup over that time, that short window, is a wonderful tool to measure how well the mother did at sea. The reason we tag the pups is so that we can again follow them over time and also link the birth weight to the weaning weight. Now, if the pup has not gained sufficient fat, it may be of poor condition and not be able to survive the rigors of the environment, or it may not even make it through the lactation period itself. So that female's ability to be successful in finding enough food is easily measurable through the amount of fat transferred to the pup.
Big waves often sweep unwary pups out of the harem. They may land on other beaches, but the females won't feed them. When pups are separated from their mothers, inevitably they starve.
Today, with the wind and the rain and the sand and the muck, is probably the worst day we've had. When we got up this morning, we had the rain pattering in against the windows. I said to Alice, I said, we won't go to work today. But, we knew we had to, so we did. And once you get out there and into it, you tend to sort of just ignore it a bit, I think.
The slog through the rain and the muck is worth it. The female royal penguins were arriving. They negotiate a path through the seal harem as they start the long journey up to the colony. And where they go, so do Megan and Alice.
I was just so happy to be able to walk out of home, go down the beach, walk up to work, don't have to fight the traffic. So it's feeling good.
The colony is now jammed with 20,000 birds. Late arrivals hustle through the crush of defensive neighbours to find their mates. They recognise each other by sound and reunite with an exuberant vocal display. Stones are desirable nesting material. But in this crowd, some just make do with what's available. The rudimentary nest complete, it's down to the business of mating. The season is very short. All the breeding occurs in less than a week.
It's absolutely wild being out in the middle of the colony, especially in the early part of the breeding season when there's just so much going on. You're just surrounded by this incredible noise. I'm so glad that we're wearing like our tough gumboots, because otherwise, your legs would just be covered in bites and bruises and from being pecked to pieces by them. But I'd much rather that they have a go at me than run away from me.
The birds lay within 48 hours of fertilisation.
The royals actually lay 2 eggs. They lay the first egg, which is called the A egg. The A egg is rejected even before the second egg is laid, and this is unusual because it doesn't give the birds any sort of insurance, I guess, for having a successful season.
No one really knows why they do this, but it may stimulate brooding for the second egg. Researchers have been monitoring the same 50 nest sites here for the last 6 years. Changes in breeding success could reflect changes in the Southern Ocean.
We take the egg weights and the egg measurements, and later in the season we'll also be checking for hatching dates, and we'll take the chick weights as it grows.
Choosing the right place for the nest can have a crucial impact on whether the chick grows at all. This inexperienced pair have been pushed out to the edge of the colony. She's laying the egg clear of her neighbours, but now she's facing a greater threat. First-timers nesting at the edge of a colony almost never manage to raise a chick. Megan and Alice have been here for 2 months.
It's really starting to feel like home, our little googie up on the hill. It's a good feeling to be able to know you've got somewhere at the end of the day too to go home where it's nice and it's warm and it's dry and it's cosy. Living and working together has turned out really, really well. We both understand each other, we know how each other operate, and it's been great, it's been really good.
By now, it's late spring, and there are more than 60,000 elephant seals on the island.
During the height of the breeding season, every available beach is basically full of breeding females. If you're walking around in this area, you have to be extremely wary that A, you're not getting near any mothers and their pups, because mothers will attack you. And you're certainly not giving the male any excuse to think that you're challenging his superiority.
The pups are putting on a hefty 4 kilos a day on the mother's fat-rich milk. Some are now close to weaning. The female comes into heat just before the pup is weaned. It's the moment the beachmaster's been waiting for. The beachmaster will attempt to mate with all the females in his territory. He's fought off competitors for weeks. Now a rival male sneaks into his harem and must be challenged. Neither of them wants to risk the energy and damage of a fight, so they prefer intimidation. But they're evenly matched, and bloodshed is inevitable. The beachmaster keeps his harem, forcing his rival back down the beach. The young loser beats a strategic retreat, but he'll try again and again, right through the season. The victorious beachmaster resumes the patrol of his patch. His only interest is mating. Some of the pups will never make it to weaning. Mike is monitoring a wandering albatross chick. This most magnificent of all seabirds is at risk, even here.
The Macquarie Island wandering albatross is critically endangered. This year we have 10 chicks that are almost at the fledging stage. Last year we only there were only 4 that fledged.
The main cause is adult birds being caught by long-line fishing.
There's less than 10 breeding pairs now on Macquarie Island. We certainly hope that they pull through, but it's not looking real good for them.
Although Mike can do little for the albatross chick except monitor its progress, other ground nesting birds on the island are faring better. Trapping and killing the cats is paying off.
Whilst I'll do everything in my power to get rid of these last cats, I also have a lot of respect for them, and I think we have to in order to eradicate these last ones because they're pretty smart. The job of a ranger, whilst at times is hard, and sometimes you have to come to grips with loneliness. You know, I've had some of the worst moments of my life down here, but I've also had some of the best, and those moments have been bloody excellent. I don't want to be anywhere else.
And sometimes, on a rare, clear night, the island shows off its magic. The aurora australis. Curtains of light generated by electrically charged particles from the sun. Most of the pups on the beach have been weaned. They're becoming adventurous. They need to. They've been left by their mothers. And the harem is a dangerous place. They escape to creches in the tussocks above the beach. For the next 6 weeks, they live off their own fat and they grow bone and muscle. The research team need to re-weigh the same 1,000 pups they weighed at birth.
Is he getting crushed? I think it's probably. Just tie it up like that and you can turn it around maybe.
The pups have tripled their birth weight in 3 weeks. Now, they're nearly twice as heavy as the average man.
Little boy. No teeth? No teeth. 1 XI. Pull that on in this one. I can't You bite. You bite.
The pups are measured to check growth.
140.
The depth of fat is measured by ultrasound so they can quantify pup condition and how much food was passed on. Now it's the mother's turn. She's been on the island for a month and is about to go back to sea to feed for the first time since she arrived. This female may have lost a third of her body weight feeding her pup, but she still weighs nearly half a ton. She is briefly sedated for the next remarkable phase of the study.
Really work that in.
Yep. About as big a square as you want right there.
We're touching a small computer unit called a time depth recorder, and it does exactly that. It records a constant measure of time, the depth, and it's accurate to about 1 meter. Remember, watch the two sensors, the light meter and the depth and the transponder.
"25 seals are now equipped as mobile laboratories. They will function like small, tireless submarines.
They typically spend about 90% of their time underwater, which is quite amazing for a marine mammal that breathes air. And they can easily dive over 1,000 meters, and I think some of them have been recorded well over 1,500 meters. They can travel easily 150, 250 kilometers a day. In fact, we've found elephant seals from Macquarie Island right across the other side of the globe, so we're talking about 6,000 kilometers.
Incredibly, the males and females feed in quite different places. The females prefer the open sea and dive deeper, targeting small prey. The larger males range further. Males have been tracked along the Antarctic coast, where bigger prey may be available. As they travel, their recorders measure the physical conditions deep under the surface, helping the scientists build a dynamic, three-dimensional model of this vast ocean. When they return to Macquarie, the recorders are recovered. Megan and Alice are using a more advanced version of the same idea. They're linking a penguin to a satellite.
They're designed to be as small and as light as possible so as not to affect the bird when they're out swimming, out at sea.
While the female remains on the nest, the male is free to look for food. He'll be tracked as he hunts.
Yeah. They're a strong little bugger.
Alice needs to return him to his mate. Fortunately, she can tell them apart. The female has already been marked with a Velcro tag.
I was actually surprised at how little it seemed to affect the bird once we had attached the tracker to it, and when we returned it to its nest. They seemed quite happy and they settled down quite quickly.
He's now being tracked by satellite. He joins the procession as they set off to feed. They'll be gone for about 3 weeks, while the females await their return. Researchers want to know how far and where they go to feed. The males head off, making for the Antarctic convergence, where food sources are usually reliable. 2 weeks later, the penguin team treks back to the base. It's a welcome brush with civilization. The satellite information has been relayed back and stored in Megan's computer.
What we've found so far is that T3 has travelled over 1,000 kilometres in the first week, and in the last week or so he's just continued to keep swimming further south, and I think he's now sitting about 1,500 kilometres southeast of the island.
Satellite tracking reveals that the penguins are travelling 3 times further than ever before recorded. The Antarctic convergence could have moved further south. Cyclic changes in the ocean can have a profound effect on the colony. The males are out longer, and many waiting females are starving. They are forced to abandon their eggs to feed themselves. The returning birds have been away for much longer than previously recorded. They've gone too far and brought back too little. Ultimately, there will be fewer surviving chicks. Usually 50% of chicks will survive to leave the island and fend for themselves. This year, it's down to 15%. After 3 months, the weaners are slimmed down and muscular. Soon hunger will drive them out to feed, and they too will face the vagaries of the Southern Ocean. Only 1 in 3 of these seals will live to become adults. The survivors will return to this beach, and some of them will become the basis for Corey's ongoing study.
After my first season, I'm extremely excited about returning for hopefully at least the next 3 years and perhaps longer. We're starting to accumulate data now that we've never been able to collect before, and putting them into context of very important models that allow us to predict not only where the seals go and why, but also how the ocean changes in time. So it's an absolutely fascinating future.
The research season is winding up, and the expeditioners hold their social night for the last time.
You look forward to the shower a lot, so we always make sure we come back in time to have one of those before dinner.
Megan's in the mood to celebrate. She's made her decision to return.
I've just had an absolutely fantastic time down here. The people and the place and the animals especially just really get under your skin, and I just hope to be back down here next year.
Macquarie Island is a tiny fragment of land. But from this platform, season after season, the scientists add another layer of knowledge to our understanding of the ocean's inhabitants. Enhanced by technology, they work with the animals to discover the secrets of this unique ocean, one of the last great mysteries on Earth.